Brian's here to talk, and I'm gonna throw it over to you.
Yeah, and I'm not in Canton, Michigan. I'm in Bentonville, Arkansas, but I do have the honor of being the very first speaker for Canton Coders. And just real quick before we start on this, I'm wearing this shirt about Git flow, and at the very bottom of this shirt, it's where it says, "When you absolutely positively have to deliver eventually." And I remember there was someone I was talking to who got the role of the lead architect of a DevOps team, and he was going to mandate Git flow for the entire area. And there's if you can just parse through that for a moment and see how many things you can find that are hilarious. All right, anyway.
Lead architect for DevOps team.
For a DevOps team, he was going to mandate Git flow for the entire development, all the development teams. So that DevOps team, there's so much fail in that. Anyway, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a community project that I'm involved with called minimumcd.org. And I think the story's in the deck. So we're just going to launch the deck. I haven't done the deck in a couple months, so just bear with me. And I'm on a single monitor, so I have to find Zoom again so I can find out where to share. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Got it.
So again, I'm Bryan Finster. I'm a value stream architect. I work for Defense Unicorns, and Defense Unicorns, we are we're a relatively small company, though growing quickly. We focus a lot on the software supply chain for really hard problems. As an example, we're working very closely with the US Navy to figure out how to do continuous delivery in a water-gapped environment, like submarines. So really difficult problems. So it's really fun working here. And so I want to talk a little bit about continuous delivery. First, what is continuous delivery? So CD is the ability to get all the changes of all types into production safely, quickly, and sustainably. And all of those are very important. CD is not just, it's not tools, it's not just dump crap into production really fast. It's all of these things, or it's not CD. Why? Well, teams should live better lives. And the experience that I've had is when we piloted continuous delivery at Walmart, we were really focusing on how do we take a giant 25 million line monolith we had and deliver it. We were delivering that thing every quarter, and we're looking at quarterly deliveries with planned week-long war rooms with 24-hour support as part of the delivery process. And you just can't make change quick enough that way. And it's just not, it's a terrible way to live. And our leadership wanted us to figure out how to make changes every 2 weeks instead of every quarter. We're like, okay, so every 2 weeks, we're going to have planned week-long works. But no, what we did was like, we took it seriously. It's like, okay, fine. We're going to work on solving this problem. We bought copies of Continuous Delivery, the book, and we started digging in. We started looking into things around Conway's Law, domain-driven design, and a lot of fundamental things around how do we improve the flow of delivery. And we actually came to the conclusion that we weren't going to go for every 2 weeks. We're going to go for daily. We had a project manager assigned to this effort. So it was a small tiger team of about 4 people, and we had a project manager assigned to this thing we were doing. And we said, okay, we're going to go for daily. And he said, well, they only asked for every 2 weeks. We're like, no, we should go for daily. And he's like, well, they said every 2 weeks, and I'm not going to support that. I'm like, okay. And so he quit the project, and we just went forward and with great success. But the outcomes we saw from this was it just made everything better. Once we got past the hump of how do we test better and how do we figure out how to break down work to a small enough level to make it so we can deliver every single day. Once we got past that hump, we saw that the feedback we were getting from our end users in the distribution centers, the level of quality was improving. The teamwork was working much better because we had to work much closely together to get it done. And the team morale improved. Management screwed it up later, but the outcome of that is a lot of us are on that original team are still very close friends outside of Walmart. None of us work for Walmart anymore, but we're all very close friends. I'm sorry, except for Amanda here, who's pictured, who also works for Walmart, and it was an amazing experience doing that first journey. And later, Accelerate came out and validated all the things that we saw. It was, continuous delivery improves performance, quality, culture, improves burnout, like making it go away, and reduces deployment pain. And so this was validation that this wasn't just one or two teams seeing this thing just because of some special circumstances inside this one small area of Walmart. This was something that other organizations were seeing. And so, what we did was, where I was, we eventually decided we need a centralized platform that was focused on how do we incentivize CD. So we were building at Walmart a global delivery platform that was opinionated so that CD was the easy way to deliver. We had metrics, gamified metrics around continuous delivery. If you wanted to use things like GitFlow, it was incredibly difficult to get it to do that. You could do it with the tools, but it hurt. But if you were trying to do CD, it was the easiest way to use the tools. But the tools weren't enough. We also needed to go and talk to all the leadership across the entire organization and get them on board and make sure that they understood this is a better way to do it. And Accelerate came out and said that everything was good. And we're like, okay, what we need to do is get people to understand how to do this. And so we're like, look at the leadership, like, look, this is what high performing organizations do. We should do these things. And what the managers hear was that high performing organizations deliver faster. We need CD, do CD. And then we get the problems. And this isn't just the problems that happened where we were. This is problems that we as a group of people who wanted to solve this are seeing systemically across the industry. So what you have is you have Dunning-Kruger delivery, right? Get all the tools. Everybody gets pipelines. And this like literally happened to me where we had a few teams who were learning how to deliver better using the tooling. But we also had a senior director who had goals who said that everybody was going to be doing continuous delivery by Q1. And so at when Q1 started getting close, she's like, just roll pipelines out to everybody so we can declare victory. Everybody's doing a CD. Mission accomplished, right? And then failure. Things start blowing up. People don't know how to break down work. They don't know how to test. They don't know how to bake quality in, which is one of the real core tenets. And so they fail catastrophically and start breaking things, and you get these results, right? And then what happens? You have management saying CD won't work here, or I've heard frequently, no, we're too complicated for CD. That only works for simple web applications, or CD is too risky, or we're not mature enough for CD. We've literally seen people reporting, out in the industry that their companies are banning continuous delivery because of these things. And even though it's a better way to work, but the problem is that fake CD, right? So CD is banned. Awesome. Now we know that organization has no chance of making developers' lives better or the customers' lives better. Or we have CD and name only, right? So we can deliver on demand. This is a quote. I literally had someone say that they're doing continuous delivery and challenged me that I was being too demanding because they deliver on demand once per month because customers don't need more frequent changes than that. which is entirely false, because when things break, I guarantee you they don't want to wait until next month for a change.
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
do the developers like waiting a month to get feedback that things work in prod?
Well, worse than that, you've got a critical CVE, you've got a break. Yeah, but so that organization says, well, we deliver on demand. Our customers demand we deliver once a month, right? But if you're optimized for delivering once a month and you need to deliver tomorrow because you've got a 0 day you need to fix, or you've got a down system, then you're going to struggle. And it's not going to be good. Right. And so, but the outcome of this is we aren't seeing the improvements. And CD is a buzzword. And why is that? Well, you've got these giant changes, slow feedback, poorly designed quality gates, your organizational structure, literally how the teams are architected is a problem. You see all these problems because they don't solve them. They don't go after them. Or another one we saw is we only use continuous delivery for features. Our hotfix process is what we use to fix things quickly. So we can deliver on demand monthly, but we have a hotfix process. But this is entirely wrong. This creates all sorts of risk. Because in an emergency, that's the wrong time to be figuring out how you want to deliver a fix. You're tired, you're stressed, you've got VPs breathing down your neck, and having that level of drama does not drive stability. And what do you need to fix an emergency? You need to resolve your stability issue. But this is the thing, right? With continuous delivery, we always use our hotfix process every single time we deliver anything. Our hotfix process is our safest way to deliver anything. It has all of our controls. It has all of our security. It has all of our quality gates. Everything is in our hotfix process, which means our hotfix process has to be also fast so we can fix production quickly. And so this acts as a forcing function around improving everything. But it also means that we have one path to deliver. It's always our safest path. And we use feature delivery to verify that we can resolve issues quickly, sustainably, all the time, the same way, always. So why did all of that fail? Is because CD was the goal, right? We want to do CD. Your customers don't give a damn if you're doing CD. What they care about is that they're getting the features they need when they need them and that they work. It's the tool. Now, so this is something that's not really well understood. People talk about Agile all the time. They talk about Scrum, go to Scrum training, or even worse, if you're a complete masochist, go get a SAFe certification and try to implement SAFe in your organization. And there's a lot of focus on process, stand up, and story points, and all of these things that do not matter. The thing that matters is, can we quickly, reliably, safely, sustainably deliver change all the time? And to do that, you have to improve everything. And so all the things that all that process coaching you see from these heavy frameworks is trying to accomplish becomes clear and also contextual to your organization when you say, why can't we deliver working changes to production every single day? And that's what CD does. CD is, I equate it to like riding 1,000cc sport. That a high-powered motorcycle will absolutely demonstrate to you where you have weaknesses in your technique that need to be corrected. CD does exactly the same thing. So we saw all this pain in the industry. You know, we see people getting banned from using it. We see people failing at it. We see people saying it's a buzzword. I mean, you go just look on LinkedIn and look for around conversations around this, you'll see it all. but we know that it works. We've done it. This is not some theoretical thing. You know, I'm not an agile coach. I'm a software engineer who this is how I deliver. And I've delivered wrong for most of my career. I've done all the bad things. I've been a developer for a long time. I know this is better. And a lot of us do. And so what we were at DevOps Enterprise Summit last year, we were all sitting at the virtual bar, which kind of sucks. Although it did provide us benefit of having tools available to us. So we're sitting at the virtual bar, and I had seen one too many conversations on LinkedIn that was just lighting me up about how, oh, well, yeah, this is what we do, and we're going to call it CD. I'm like, no, that's not continuous delivery. And so we talked about this problem, and we thought, well, we have a couple of options. We could just sit here and whine about it over our beverage, or we could help fix it. And so we decided we're going to help fix it. That's what we did. So we had a goal, right? Is we wanted to set a minimum set of behaviors that you could say true or false. We either do this or we don't do this, that are true in every context. And that could be delivering a web app to the cloud. That could be delivering to firmware, delivering to an air-gapped secure environment, whatever, every context. And we were aiming for, if you are doing this, you have problems to solve that will reduce the organizational pain and improve the outcomes of delivery. That was the goal, is that this is a list of things that you can check off, yes, we are, or we are not. And to get to yes, we are, you have to fix something systemic in your organization to get there. And doing that will make it better, great. That's great for us, but why do we care about you? And the reason we care is that everywhere should be an awesome place to work. We know that everybody on here is going to change jobs at some point. And would you rather go into an organization where you're like, oh God, I mean, Jesus, they're so far behind and now I got to pull them up so I can enjoy working here? Or would you just rather walk in and everywhere's just an awesome place to work? And, this deploy more, sleep better. I mean, this was literally the catchphrase for the dojo at Walmart, is deploy more, sleep better, because we knew that was true. That if we can figure out how to optimize our flow of work so we can deploy smaller batches more frequently with higher quality, that we sleep better at night because everything's just more stable. And everybody should live that way. Development shouldn't be as much pain as it's been most of my career. And 3 days later, we had a website. I mean, we started with a Google Doc and we started, hammering stuff out. We had people coming in from a whole bunch of different contexts. We had well-known people in the DevOps community. We had people who were like product owners that didn't even know about programming, but they provided their feedback and their thoughts. And we pulled everything together, and then we published a website. And I registered minimumcd.org, and we threw out something out there on a Hugo site and said, here, look, this is what we think. And where are we today? And this is actually out of date. I created this metric slide back in April, and it's grown since then. We have more than 37 global contributors now. We've got more than 99 stars. We have a lot more than 198 signatures. We've got contributors from multiple contexts, multiple industries that have contributed and said, yes, trying to make these things better. And what was really exciting was that 7 days later, Dave Farley, one of the co-authors of the book Continuous Delivery, he submitted a pull request with a minor tweak to the language and his signature and said, yes, this is good. And that made us feel amazing. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the core behaviors that grow improvement. I'm not going to go through the list that's on the website, all of them. I will say that we are continuing to flesh out the website. It is not done. It's not like the Agile Manifesto where it's immutable. We are the core practices shouldn't see a lot of change, though we are open to change on those, but there's going to be a lot of discussion on anything around core behaviors. But fleshing out the why and how of those core behaviors is something that we're currently working on and open to any sort of contribution on that. First one, trunk-based development. And this is fundamental. You need to be using trunk-based development. And the definition of trunk-based development is either you're pushing directly to the trunk, although if you're in a regulated environment, sometimes that's not allowed. And so you have to use branches, but if you're using branches, it'd be very short-lived, and they should originate from the trunk and then reintegrate back to the trunk. If you're doing anything where you have a dev branch, you're not doing trunk-based development. I don't care how much you want to pretend. Why? Well, number one, you really can't do good TBD without improving how you test. It also means we're going to replace process toil with engineering. We're going to have to find engineering solutions for some of the things that people have tried to use branching patterns for. It also reduces conflict resolution defects. One of the previous positions I held at Walmart was head of the merge team for our main warehouse management system. This was a 25 million line monolith written in 5 different languages, developed over about 25 years. There was no tests in the code, no tests at all. And we had projects going on where we have over 400 branches being integrated every quarter. And my team's job was to make sure those branches got merged cleanly. One of my goals I was given on that team was to make the team obsolete. I can't tell you how terrifying it is to try to integrate that code and have all those teams try to clean their conflict resolutions after a quarter's worth of divergence on a branch. And then all the manual testing that had to occur to verify that stuff actually still worked. That was awful. You never want to do that. Integrate your code a lot more frequently. It also predicts against, so one of the outcomes of conflict resolution is going to be lost changes. People are going to resolve conflicts in ways that cause problems. And trunk-based development is absolutely fundamental for continuous integration. People claim they're doing CI with Git flow, and I guarantee you what they mean is that we have an automated build server, which leads us to continuous integration. Continuous integration is we integrate work to the trunk at least daily. And that's minimum. That's not saying, oh yeah, well, every 2 or 3 days we integrate work. No, if you're not integrating each developer is not integrating their work before the end of the day, they're not doing CI, straight up. And that's not saying that they're bad people. It's just they're not doing CI. And from a team perspective, we should be asking, well, why can't we do continuous integration? Literally on the very first team we were piloting this on, I wrote the rules for continuous integration on a piece of paper, put them up in the team area, and then we were doing daily retrospectives. Why can't we do continuous integration? What's preventing us from doing that today? Okay, let's go look at that problem. How do we solve that problem? Because I didn't know either, right? We had to go and figure that out. But the end result was that we were doing CI really well. This image down here is from my co-contributor to this particular deck, where this is a repository with 407 branches. And then we have a branch here that's 432 commits ahead, 354 commits behind, and the team's claiming they're doing continuous integration. I'll leave it to you to judge. So CI, right? We have trunk-based development. Work integrates to the trunk at least daily. Work is tested with other work automatically on merge. You really want to test it even before then. New work does not break delivered work. Now, this is the critical one. People typically are used to working in, I will commit code when it's feature complete. We don't do that with continuous integration unless it's an incredibly tiny feature. With CI, we commit tested code. The last meetup we had was around test-driven development. This will help you with CI. Do you have to do TDD to do CI? No, I recommend it, but you push code, you either use branch by abstraction, you use methods where new code is only being exercised by test code until the last change you make is to integrate it back into work with the rest of the code, use feature flags, whatever, but you must be deployable at all times and integrate code every single day. And when the build breaks, our highest priority as a team is to fix the build. Now, when we started down this path of uncovering how to do CI, you'd see stuff back then around, there's Microsoft would have a pink t-shirt for the person who broke the build last, or people would have like a little troll that they have on their desk for
Poop emoji.
Yeah, or
Wait, a stuffed poop emoji.
yeah, stuffed poop emoji for breaking the build. I think that's a terrible, terrible culture to drive because, and this is why, I was able to break the build. I was able to push code to the automation and break the build, which means that our quality process needs hardening. We should have the ability to reject a build a commit that will break the build. And so we as a team need to fix the build. We as a team need to identify how it's able to break the build and then see if we can find a way to put a process in place to reject that sort of commit in the future. The reason that the build must be fixed immediately is that if I can't deliver change because the build's broken, I don't have a way to validate that my change is good. And so anything I do other than fix the build is the wrong thing to do. CI uncovers a lot of challenges. In the Walmart Dojo, when we'd be doing engagement with teams, this is the boring list of stuff that we would always have to fix. Teams didn't know how to break down work. They didn't know how to test well. They didn't work well as teams. There was all sorts of handoffs going on. One of my favorite ones was when managers would assign work at the beginning of a sprint, or a scrum master would assign work at the beginning of a sprint. That would destroy teamwork. I mean, there was all these things that you would see that CI made glaringly obvious as anti-patterns. And so it's an incredibly powerful tool, and the place I recommend people to start for uncovering pain. And by relentlessly reducing that pain, your life is better. It just makes everything suck so much less. And I can't stress this enough. I'm a developer. I still develop. I also do other things other than develop. But if you want your life sucking less, focus on how do we do CI better. There's some things around the delivery pipeline that are practices we talk about. It's the only path to any environment. You don't have a develop branch that goes to development environment and integration branch goes to integration environment. You don't have some sort of way to bypass things for some sort of hot fix to go to production. You never FTP to production. The pipeline is the only way you get production access. And doing that means, number one, we reduce variability. Variability is what causes defects. It reduces risk because we have a standard way to ensure quality, security, and compliance. It makes us improve our quality gates, because what happens is we don't have any option other than to say we know our quality gates to not only be effective, and if we find some problem in production that our quality gates can catch, then we need to improve our quality gates. But it also has to be efficient. It has to be fast. We have to engineer our quality so that not only is it effective, But in emergency, we can rapidly fix production without being forced to drive into some sort of workaround flow that bypasses our quality process.
Hey,
And-
Bryan,
Yeah,
just
go
real quick, since you're really driving on quality. I love that you're driving on quality, but
PD
and
is a quality initiative.
dude, church choir, preacher choir, whatever.
Yeah.
But what are you saying that the first thing I need to do if I want to do continuous delivery is I need like 100% coverage and
No.
okay.
No, you need to uh, so for continuous delivery, when you're starting out, and if you don't have a good quality process, what you're going to do is you're going to start laying down a pipeline on top of your current process. And you're not going to just remove your current process because you have build and deploy automation. What you're going to do is you're going to start replacing your current process with quality gates in the pipeline. When you're starting out, you may still be doing a lot of manual acceptance testing. You don't just remove all the manual acceptance testing because you have no other safeguards. But you need to understand that manual acceptance testing is riskier than properly engineered tests in the pipeline. It's less risky than not testing at all, but it's more risky than having good quality gates in your pipeline. And so you start replacing all of that and getting better and better testing in your pipeline, right? It's a journey. You don't just flip a switch and say, okay, cool, we have continuous delivery. Again, the purpose here is these are the outcomes you're looking for. We need to solve these problems to get to these outcomes.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you.
Yes. We also reduce process overhead, right? We replace process with engineering. We're looking for a minimum viable process. If we can automate a process, we do it. We don't just keep a process because someone thinks it's awesome, right? We don't keep cab because someone says we need cab. Show me the value of cab and I'll show you why it's going to cause problems and how we can automate cab away. Pipeline's also the final judge of releasable. It's completely deterministic. What that means is we replace emotion with rules. What are our organizational norms? You know, how do we define releasable? What's the security? And so I'm going to talk a lot about security as well. By the way, security is just another quality aspect. It's not separate from some other quality thing. It's just a different kind of quality. It's the scariest kind of quality, but it's just a quality check, right? But we don't need someone, you know, doing some sort of inspection around security or inspection around quality when we're, quote, done coding, right? The pipeline certifies that we're releasable. And doing that means that, you know, to solve that problem, we have to remove all of the manual acceptance checks for release. Like Dave says here, right? Pipeline, see everything's good. That should be enough. We need to solve that problem, right? How do we architect a pipeline so that it meets all of our organizational definitions for releasable? And there's a lot more on the website, right? There's several, well, there's actually 9 things under continuous delivery, but then we also have CI broken out into a few things, and test-driven development broken out into a few things. But at the top level of continuous delivery, solve these 9 problems, right? And so, cool, we just have another maturity model or agile framework, right? Well, no. What we're looking at is a journey you're on. Here's your roadmap of problems you need to solve. None of the things on the website is do it this way. We're saying these are the minimum set of problems that you need to solve so that you can say we are actually doing continuous delivery. And the experience I've had is people don't believe any of this stuff is true. You'll talk to people about CD, and you might get them interested, they might try, but they don't deep down inside believe it's true. Once you get them past a certain point over a hump and they see the level of improvement, And it's early on in the journey, honestly. I promise you, it's not like months or years. It can be weeks. They see that level of improvement, and then they're going to be off and running.
Brian,
Yeah.
so do you have, you talked about overtooling.
Yeah.
Do you have some suggestions for a minimal set of tools?
Yeah. You need a CI server.
Right. Okay.
You need some way to do some tests on that CI server. And you need a way to deploy automatically as well. Or you need to deploy an automated way to deploy, not necessarily automatically, but you need an automated way to deploy that doesn't require anybody to type any commands, right? You need a single button press deploy of some kind.
But would you include like a build artifact repository in that, or no?
I would highly recommend a build artifact repository. As far as a minimum set of tools, I can do continuous delivery with GitHub and Netlify, but it's for a very simple thing, right? But I can do continuous delivery. I highly recommend an artifact repository for anything that's like more than a hobby. But you don't have to start there, right? You just if you're just trying to start, all you really need to start is a CI server so that you can validate your builds and move on from there. Just understand that every single manual touch point, my background's supply chain. In supply chain, you minimize touch points because every time you touch a box, it costs money and risk damage. Okay. And the same applies to software. Anytime you physically touch software, it costs money and risk damage. And so if you're FTPing your artifact out of the CI server, it costs money and risk damage.
Do you have, so a number of tools out there create a lot of noise.
Yes, they do.
I have a customer that's using check marks, for instance.
Sure.
And it creates all kinds of things to the extent that it thinks that you should have SQL procedures for everything instead of just making sure, for instance, for SQL injection, that you have a check for SQL injection.
Yeah.
You can do that in your code. Question mark works.
So much of that is down to, fine tuning those configurations to what your organization standards need to be.
Yeah. So one of the problems with large organizations that, I've gotten, oh, well, let's do this. Let's do that. This would make things better. Is, at least in my experience, is that they grab everything, turn everything on, and you get so much noise that everybody just gets plain depressed.
Yeah, I agree. And there's two things I want to say about that. First, Dana and I are both photographers, and I was talking to someone about something very similar to this today. Photoshop makes it incredibly easy. The number of things you can do in Photoshop is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also overwhelming, but it makes it incredibly easy to manipulate photographs. So all you need to be a photographer is download Photoshop and take a picture and run it through Photoshop, right? No, you have to know what a good photograph looks like, right? And so the tool makes it incredibly easy for a skilled photographer to generate a good image, right? Because photography is not taking a picture. Photography is about making images, right? And it allows a skilled photographer to easily manipulate a photograph to match what's in their mind, right? But you have to be a skilled photographer. The tools are the same way. The tools don't solve problems. The tools make it easier to solve problems so people understand what the solution should look like. And then on the other thing, as far as tools like check marks, This is just like linting. If you're, any sort of like low level, coding standards tool,
Yep.
you have to
has the same problem.
incrementally ramp up the difficulty on that, right? You have to, you can't just apply all of the linting rules, right? You have to let's start with a small set of linting rules and incrementally increase the level that we're looking at, right? You have to do that with everything. You can't just turn on all the all the controls and say, ta-da!
Surprise! No one can go to production.
Right? Yeah.
No, I had a set of teams and their code. They turned everything on, and they had 8,000 plus quote issues.
Yeah.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, change management's
It was terrible code, but still.
Yep. So Camille, turn SolarCube off, and they'll get rid of 7,500 of them.
Do what?
And then you can pay attention to the rest.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the thing. This is a journey, and you have to be kind to yourself, but you have to relentlessly improve, right? You can't say we're doing CD because we have a CI server. You have to hold yourself accountable to, we want to do real CD because otherwise we won't see the outcomes that everyone talks about. But you have to take the journey. You can't take shortcuts. It is a journey. But you have to know what the destination looks like to get there. And that's what our goal is. So again, this isn't a framework, right? We're looking at measurable objectives. It's not fuzzy at all. Binary. This is true. This is false. Have we met this objective? And doing that allows you to find all the things hidden under the rug, right? I used to joke that my job at the dojo was to walk into your living room, lift up your rug and go, oh my God, how'd you get that under there, right? And that's what it does. CD forces you to face the problems that you either didn't want to face or didn't even know about because you're just used to them. So where do we start, right? Is why can't we deliver today? This is where we start. Just ask the question. Don't start with, hey, we have to bring in, the latest, greatest agile framework. Or we don't like a Scrum. We're going to go and focus on Kanban, or we don't like SAFe. We're going to use less. And just ignore all of that BS, right? Why can't we deliver today? And you start at the team level. You're going to find as you progress, there's probably constraints outside your team level. And then figure out how we can fix those. How do we collaborate to make those better, right? Define what releasable is in your context. This is contextual. Releasable for a static web page is very different from releasable of an application that's going to be deployed to a high security environment that is going to either help somebody or cost them their life in a war zone, right? I mean, you have different levels of releasable. Define what releasable is. Fall passionately in love with testing. I can't stress this enough, right? You can't be a software engineer who doesn't love testing. I'm sorry. I'm more than willing to get in people's faces and hold them accountable for I'm a software engineer. I code, somebody else tests for me. No, you're not. You're a script kiddie. Maybe you should try roofing. Okay, I'm just not going to fall. I'm not going to soften that. Focus on continuous integration behaviors, right? As a team, how do we collaborate on a team? How do we get better at the low-level behaviors of a team so that we can do continuous integration? Continuous integration servers are a tool, but they are not CI. CI is how we use those tools. Automate manual verification of releasable, right? When we started this process, we had change board. We had to go and represent our change control. We had to talk about what was it? The implementation, validation, and backout plan, our IVB document that had to be attached to the change control. Yeah, why don't we just automate all that? We have all these compliance rules. 2 eyes on every change. Okay, so we can automate validation of that. What are our rules around releasable? Let's automate all of them. And then we need to relentlessly improve. We're not going to be good at this at the beginning. We need to be kind to ourselves and not judge ourselves by what other people are doing, but we need to judge ourselves by what we're doing today could be better, and relentlessly focus on making it better. How do we shrink the duration of the pipeline? How do we make sure that we have fewer defects penetrating in production and harden the pipeline to make that harder for those defects to go? Is there anything we can do to make it so we can do teamwork better? Hey, we're doing asynchronous code review, but that's really wasteful. What if we did synchronous code review? What if we tried pair programming? So we had instant code review. What works for us, right? How do we remove the wait times and handoffs and context switching? All of these things impact all the things you hear about. You actually have to be good at some of the core skills you hear about in Agile training to do this. But don't focus on the process. Focus on, there's some things around process that make it so that we can deliver today. Don't be bad. I mean, the reason for this, right, is we're optimizing for sleep. We are focusing on delivering stable, useful solutions to our customers. We're not doing this for the technology. We're doing it for them, and we're doing it for our quality of life. And that's why we do it. If we have people saying we should deliver every quarter, our customers don't want change that infrequently, and it puts them and us at risk to do that. We need to deliver daily to minimize our risk. We need help, okay? There's nearly 40 people have contributed to this content. We need more contributions. We're translated into, we're of course written in English, but we're also translated into 5 different languages. That bottom one, by the way, if you're not aware, is Finnish. That was the very first translation. It was translated into Finnish. But there's additional content we need to add. We need experience reports. We need additional information around how these things work. If you don't know how to contribute, just reach out to us. We're happy to help. You can go out to the website that tells how to join the Slack channel and contribute to the community. We have very strict guidelines around the main page because people have signed that. And so they have agreed that this is good. And so we're very careful about changing some of that content. It will change if it needs to, but we're very careful about it. The rest of the content is, how do we do this better? We have stuff around, this is the minimum. Now, how do we move beyond the minimums? Because we're talking about the very bare minimum, but there are lots of good things that we highly recommend we do, but they're not recommended for every single context. So we need those contributions. And again, I'm Bryan Finster. You can reach me on LinkedIn on Bryan Finster. I post information once or twice a month on LinkedIn. You can also reach me on
12 times a day.
Yeah, you can also reach me on Twitter. If you want to, I've got a blog, the 5-Minute DevOps blog on Medium. You can get to that at rant.bryanfinster.com. And I'm also the owner of Scaled Agile DevOps Maturity Framework. So that's sadmf.com, where you too can be a SADMF. You can buy certifications. It's much cheaper than a SAFe certification, but you get exactly the same expected outcomes.